Alright students, so what we have here is our lab from yesterday, right? So how does the style of movement affect the speed of the person moving? And we had copied this into our notebook. We had collected times, correct? And with that, then we needed to calculate speed. Now, in order to calculate speed, you need to use the speed triangle, the speed formula triangle. If you don't have this in your notes from the speed notes, I would go ahead and add it. Okay, so add this here, and then speed equals distance divided by time, which equals distance divided by time, so d divided by t. Go ahead and pause here while you write that down. So go ahead and pause here while students are able to add this to their speed notes. Alright, so now let's go ahead and calculate. Okay, so we're going to calculate these speeds. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it out. I'm going to put distance over time. So 12 meters divided by 30 seconds. Okay, I'm just going to calculate all of these out. So again, that's distance divided by time. So 12 meters on all of these divided by the time in seconds. Oops. So it was supposed to be 12 seconds, or 12 meters on top. And 24.2 on the bottom. 12 meters divided by 18.7. So we're going to go ahead and calculate those out on our trusty calculator here. So we take 12 divided by 30, and we were walking at a speed of 0.4 meters per second. 12, so moving on to the second one, divided by 10.65 equals 1.13 meters per second. 12 divided by 15.4 seconds equals 0.78 meters per second. 12 divided by 24.2 gives us 0.4, make that 0.5 meters per second. 12 divided by 18.7 gives us 0.64 meters per second. So there we have our speeds. So now we are ready to learn how to do our graphs. So with that, what you need to do is take a look at our note page that we're taping into our notebooks. Okay, and the steps that we're going to do is to step 1, create a title. Step 2, determine the interval and label for the x-axis. Step 3, determine the interval and label for y-axis. Step 4 is plot your data. And step 5 is connect the data points. So we're going to do that for all 6 of our graphs. And we're going to do that on the graph paper. So step 1 is to create a title. And so the title for our first graph is walk. Walk. Okay? And our second is run. Our third is backwards. So over here I'm writing backward. You can do this as I'm doing it. I would write a little bit in the top here. Our fourth event is 3-legged. And then student choice, which we did the grapevine. Okay, and then you leave the last blank unless you make a mistake. All right, so that took care of step 1. Right here, create a title. So now we're moving on to step 2. Determine the number, determine the interval and label for x-axis. So the label is going to be time, and we have time in seconds. So time. Now we need to figure out the interval. Okay, so one thing that's really important is that we keep the interval the same on all of these graphs. So what I would do is go back and see what was our longest time. So our longest time was 30 seconds. So then what I would do, so we have 30 seconds, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we have 10 lines that we're going to use. So I would take 30 divided by 10 gives us a scale of 3. So here we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. This line here is 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Okay, so you might need to adjust that scale, but you're going to do it the same for each one of these. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. And just keep doing that on every graph until they all have the same interval scale. Almost done here. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Last one. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Remember, this is labeled time, and it's in seconds. Time, and it's in seconds, and time, and it's in seconds. Alright, so heading back to our trusty little cheat sheet. So then we move on to 3. It says determine interval and label for the y-axis. So our y-axis is going to be distance. Okay, so distance is in meters. I like to turn it sideways like so, and write distance in meters. Distance in meters. Distance in meters. Distance in meters. You notice I'm not putting this directly on the side. It's a little bit off to the side, and that's so that I can put my intervals in there. So this is distance in meters. So now I have them all done with the distance. Now I need to figure out my interval. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so 12 is right here, and we have 12 meters, so I'm just going to make 1 for 1. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now some people don't like it so cluttered, and so what they do is they skip a line. So they go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And that works pretty good. So again, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So you notice I am skipping, so this does have a value of 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Alright, so we go back to our cheat sheet. So then it says to, before we do that, let's go ahead and pause the video here and make sure everyone has their interval. So pause the video, make sure that you add all the intervals for your 5 graphs. So you should have your x and y axes labeled for every graph. Okay, here we are. So now we're on to graphing the walk data. All right, so step 4 is plot your data. So for walk, it was 12 meters in 30 seconds. Okay, so I go up on the left-hand side, find 12, bring it over to 30 seconds, and I make a circle. Okay, there's my data for walk. Okay, so then I go on to the next one. For run, I had 12 meters and 10.6. So gets a little bit tricky, but we're pretty good. 10 is going to be pretty close to this line, right about there. So we're going on to backwards. Backwards took me 15.4 seconds to run that distance. So putting that real close to the line, but just off it. And then three-legged is down here at 24.2 seconds. Okay, just off the line. And 18.7 for our grapevine. A little further off the line than those other ones. All right, back to our cheat sheet. It says connect the data points. Okay, and if you wanted, one thing I sometimes like to do when I plot these is if it's easy to tell what it is, but you can sometimes put the number on there. So the distance is pretty easy to read, but you can put the data points. So this one would be 12, 30, something like that if you need to. All right, so now we're moving on to step 5, which says connect the data points. You can use a straight edge, like your folder or the edge of the calculator. I find the calculator works pretty slick since we already have it. And you run it from 0, 0, because that's where we started. We started at 0 meters and 0 seconds, started the timer, and we walked. Okay, so you do that for each of them. Right, we covered the same 12 meters in 5 different motions that gave us 5 different times. So we covered the same distance in different times, which would then mean that we had 5 different speeds. Okay, so when you're all done, you should end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so you have them all labeled, and you have that data. Now, if you were a person that didn't have data, hopefully you realized that you could have plugged in my data and did it on your own. So here is that data for those pieces, and here is the finished product. That's all I have for you today. Go ahead and calculate those yourself, and then you'll be moving on to working on to either your study guide or finishing up any homework that you have. Again, procedure for science fair is due next Friday, not tomorrow, but next Friday, and that is all I know for now. Good luck.